Welcome to the Mayor of Money podcast with former Burlington Mayor Rick Goldring of Goldring Financial Leadership. In this podcast, we provide successful business owners, including doctors and dentists, with insights to minimize tax and risk while maximizing retirement income and future legacy. Join us for this journey as Rick draws from years of experience and guest experts, including successful entrepreneurs, to provide unique strategies and approaches to estate and financial planning matters, as well as business in general. Now, on to the show.
So with me today on this version of the Mayor of Money podcast is Ashleigh Stoesser, CPA. Ashleigh has been an accountant for almost 14 years. She focuses on the western end of the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, but of course today with the technology we're using, she can connect with anybody in Ontario very easily. In any event, Ashleigh, welcome to the Mayor of Money podcast. Really thrilled you're here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me on.
So what prompted you to become a certified professional accountant or an accountant in general? What was there a time in your life when you said, aha, I wanted to be an accountant? Is there something that came up like that for you?
Yeah, it's a question that as I became an entrepreneur and started my own practice, it's something that, you think back on and what triggered this? The simple answer is, I took an accounting course in high school, and I just really liked seeing that and understanding that side of business and that language of business. And I saw it as a career going forward, and just the flexibility that it would give my life, because having a family, being a mom was also very important. And I just felt, being an external accountant would really provide that opportunity to have a life that I want. But really, if I were to, connect to my inner child and go even further back, my interest in money alone really what drove me to this career. As a 4-year-old, I, wanted to be stinking rich. That's what I told people when they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. That was my answer. I just always had an interest in money. The way people spent it, the way they saved it, the way they gave it away, even watching Dynasty with my mom. But eventually she was like, well, how are you going to make the money? You need to pick a career, actually. So then for the longest time, I was like, well, I'll be a dentist, because I had, people in my family that, were successful dentists, and science was a direction that I thought I would like. And so for the longest time, I grew up wanting to be a dentist. That was my answer. And then in grade 8, another money influence, I had a great teacher that brought in a financial advisor, and they talked about, the value of saving money and how it compounds and how you can be a millionaire when you reach 30 if you just start saving today. And that just really stuck with me. Again, just the influence of money and how powerful it is and how meaningful it is and how it's important to our livelihoods. So that, stuck with me, but I was still, planning on being a dentist, and took science classes in high school. But then I don't know what it was. My mom was like, just what about business? So I took an accounting course, and I don't know, it clicked with me. It made sense to me. I really like analyzing businesses from a numbers perspective. It's really the language of business. If you want to understand business and how to operate, it starts with the numbers and money, really. So money, I would say, is the answer in that, which really influenced my career, is money. So
that's fascinating, at 4 years of age or 8 years of age, how these things come into certain people's minds about, my old stepdaughter said when she was 6, she was going to be a pediatrician, and she's now a family doctor, delivers babies, and, loves what she does in so many different ways. But she knew early on that she was going to be a doctor.
it's interesting, the power of like young kids' intuition on what, where their energy flows and where
Yeah.
their interest goes. So that's wonderful.
So you work with a number of different clients. Is there a specific type of client that ideally you feel you're best suited for as a business owners, as a high net worth families? I mean, what sort of clientele do you tend to focus on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, I guess my client base that I've attracted so far, I've been in public practice with my own firm for about 2 years. And my specialty, I would say right now, is the startup companies, those companies that either are just incorporated and they just need all that guidance, getting set up internally, their systems, getting the right resources, and just building their team of people to help them, grow their business. Really in the infancy stage is where my client base is, which I love. And ideally, I would say who I want to work with are family businesses. So families that work together. Now that I have the FEA, I just feel like I just have a perspective that I can bring to help guide them through all the complexities that tends to come up when you're working in a business with your family members. And it's a long-term relationship too. So it's the families that I have as clients, they're in their business cycle, maybe in the infancy stage, but as we grow and they build their success story, they're going to need more hands-on advisory services. And so that's where the interest is developing that deeper, more impactful relationship with my clients where I can help guide them.
So when you look at family businesses and the family businesses that are clients of yours, what are the distinct areas that you serve them in that you wouldn't serve other clients that are sort of non-family owned enterprises in the same way? What are the unique areas that you get into, or is it the way you approach it versus exactly what you do?
Yeah, I mean, when I have my accountant hat on, it's very, I want to say, like a laundry list of items that need to be completed. Like it's very technically based. When working with family businesses, it's less about the content and more about the process, and really just meeting them where they're at and understanding their challenges, what keeps them up at night, what worries them. And what often is the case is they're worried about, transitioning the business, who's going to take over. Like they're worried about that future plan. So I feel like I can help build that and guide that and give them the tools and perspective to help them successfully succeed to the next generation. Like that's ultimately where I meet the family where they're at. So if they're struggling with communication, we can work on or conflict resolution. That's generally where the family interaction tends to have its complexities, is what stage of life they're in also has impact on how I approach it and how I approach the family and how I advise. But it's really just meeting them where they're at, and it's a more gentle approach of just conversation, really, just really understanding the dynamics within the family. But yeah, like it's more of a process than, okay, here's the end goal. We got to get your taxes filed and we've got to minimize taxes. It's more of like, what are we building here? What legacy, or what's the vision? It's really just getting down to the family vision and what their goals are.
So succession is a big one.
Definitely, especially like with, the baby boomers retiring and passing on. Like it's a really big time in Canadian small business. There's a lot of transfer of businesses happening. And I mean, succession plan is important, but continuity is also where an FEA advisor is helpful, because succession is a point in time, but what is happening, which is leading up to that point in time? How's the family preparing for that? And it could just be a mindset thing. It could be a lot of fears that are keeping them from having these conversations that seem so big and scary. And it's all about involving the entire family. It's a plan that is made with the family, not for the family. And that's really important to understand, because I think from like a really high level, a 50-foot, I feel like a lot of business owners try to plan without the family involved, but it's really important that the family comes together at the same table and talk about the challenges and celebrate the success. Like, what is the family story? What is the business story? Like, these are all important conversations that families need to have if they're not having them yet. So my role is to hopefully bring families together to start having these conversations that will ultimately help them prepare for succession.
Do you have a story you could tell of a particular client where you got involved and they may have had some challenges and you were able to help guide them in a certain way that they felt a lot more clear on their direction going forward after they worked with you?
That's a good question. I think what I try to bring to my clients and show up every day is, my goal is to give them peace of mind, to be reliable, to make complex things simple, to be a logical and objective voice. So I think when I think about a client that I think I've made a difference, I believe I made a difference, I would say one of my first clients, I've been working with her. She's a manufacturing business, and I've been working with her for about 2 years. And she came to me being, behind in her tax compliance, her book, she had none of the bookkeeping done. So she really just came to me in desperation. And I loved her story immediately. She told me about her business, and I have goosebumps just like talking about her, because I just feel so deeply passionate about her purpose. And so I jumped right in, and I knew, okay, we got to get you a good bookkeeper that knows manufacturing businesses. So that was the first order of business. We talked about challenges that she was having with staffing. So all these things, she uses me as a resource. Like, when she calls me, I answer and we talk. She vents. She tells me all of the challenges that she's going through, and I'm able to, I guess, lessen the intensity of it. I find business owners are so passionate and emotional about their business that sometimes they just need an objective sounding board. And that's my goal with her. So we've been working together, and that's sort of the relationship that we've developed. And I think it's making a huge difference for her.
So so really what you're outlining is, it's not necessarily adding the columns and figuring out the tax and filing the tax returns and doing the profit and loss and the financial statements. You're going to do that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the other relationship related stuff that comes up that a business owner can be very lonely position.
Yeah.
And they've got you.
Yeah. And
right?
that's
This person has you.
Yeah. And that's the relationship I want to build with clients, is I can be a resource to you. I can be a business partner. I may not have all the answers. I mean, I do stay in my lane, but I also have connections and a network. And I mean, I'm like, you give me all your issues and I'm going to be thinking about it at night, trying to strategize and help clients in any way I can. I mean, it's a challenge because I can't be in their business every day, but it's definitely what I think people should realize is that accountants are resources that, yes, we are here to do the compliance year end, and I love that part of my role. I enjoy that part. It's very satisfying, but being able to communicating with your accountant, I think that is also important because we're always thinking about the future and planning for the future. And the more we know, the more we can help.
So with regard to tax, that can be a big focus for a lot of people. I mean, it's a given in the work that you do. Are there some areas that people are not as well prepared or as well thought out, or as are there mistakes that people make on a regular basis that you come in and help them clean up? When it comes to tax, when it comes to monitoring what they're doing?
I mean, it's always good to understand their level of understanding first and foremost of how taxes work and ways to minimize tax. I mean, I help individuals. It can be as simple as having a conversation of what happened during the year. Did you buy a house? Did you sell a house? Just looking for available tax credits or deductions that would help them further reduce their taxes or defer them. It could be putting in a good RSP plan in place if they're business owners and want to defer taxes. Not everybody knows these strategies. So it could be additional business deductions if they're not sure are business related. It's just all comes up in conversation. Or are you ready to incorporate? What is your, I mean, you can look at that from a quantitative perspective, but really there's so many qualitative considerations to have to make that decision. So again, it's a conversation. When do you incorporate to utilize that tax deferral, that corporate tax deferral? And then just maximizing the deductions once you are incorporated, maximizing the deductions, and then planning for the future, whatever that may be. If it's investing in other things, if it's starting a new business, if it's thinking about your estate tax. It really is a gradual build. I mean, not everybody when they first incorporate are thinking about the end game. They're really just focused on their business, but accountants always have their eye on that, and we consult on that, and we're thinking about that.
So it's interesting. I mean, there's a perception with accountants or people who maybe don't work with accountants that accountants' job is to keep the books and to make sure the numbers are accurate and file the tax returns and the financial statements and so on and so forth. But what you're saying is the work that you do is that's a given. What I just outlined, you do that. That's just a given. That's part of your job, big part of your job. But you really thrive on helping them achieve specific objectives, deal with issues that they haven't been able to wrestle to the ground yet, and you're able to help through your own thinking, through working with them, and through people in your network, and help guide you, be the best advisor you can be for your client.
Yeah, like give them options. I truly believe that every business owner has all the answers and has all the capabilities. Sometimes they just need to be shown the options and be guided to that answer, be guided to that next step in their business to make it grow or to give further opportunities. But yeah, like I would say, I love the year-end work. I love the year-end process. It gives me a chance to take a look at the business, how they've performed in the last year, compare it to the previous year. And I mean, that's rewarding and enjoyable to me, especially when I'm coming up into my second year with my clients and we're able to have celebrate those successes and have those conversations looking at the financial statements. And there's a lot of joy in seeing, comparing, last year's from this year, and especially in growing businesses. And so I think it's important to have those conversations at year end with business owners, because we talk about the year past and celebrate those successes and, learn from them, reflect on them, but we're also talking and discussing, and I'm making recommendations about the next year and setting goals for the next year and so forth. And that could be as simple as, here are your tax installments, like pay them on time, and or it could be, okay, you need to hire an employee or get a new bookkeeper. It's whatever the challenges are. But yeah, it goes beyond the compliance work that is an unnecessary step.
So Ashleigh, here we are sitting in November of 2022. We're recording this in November 2022. This has been a really challenging year in so many different ways for so many different people, with interest rates going up, the Bank of Canada fighting inflation and wanting to control inflation. But it's having an impact. I mean, we're most likely heading into recession. Have you seen it? Is it starting to bite, these interest rate increases with any of the clients that you're working with? And is there certain strategies that they are going down to minimize the impact of interest rate increases on any indebtedness they have? How have you found it with your clients this year?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, a concern. I mean, interest rates for sure for like real estate investors. I know that's impacting their decisions and their strategies, but also like just inflation. Like my clients are struggling with, the cost of their raw materials. So it is a challenge. And I would say, I don't have the answers. I've never been through a recession in this magnitude, or like been in it, but I would say that it's really just focusing on if you're a business owner, you have to focus on what it is that you do best. And maybe it's not the time to be thinking about investing in new markets, or I'm pretty risk adverse. So I'm more of like, okay, let's ride out the wave. But it'll be interesting come tax time to hear more conversation about how it's really impacting people's decisions. But hey, we're all being challenged by it, and there's really no right answer.
Yeah, I guess I've always been amazed. Like, entrepreneurs are true heroes to me, and the reason I say that is that so often, they're right on their own. And I think of, you wouldn't remember this, Ashleigh, but some other people might remember. There used to be ABC or CTV's Wide World of Sports, and they would show a vignette of somebody cliff diving in Acapulco. And when you cliff dive in this cove in Acapulco, you actually dive when you see rocks. And then when you get to the water, then the water will be there. You just got to have faith. But that's a good analogy for entrepreneurs, that they have such strong faith in what they're doing, the services and products that they're offering, and that they have. What amazes me about so many business owners is their tremendous resiliency and adaptability, depending on what circumstances are.
Totally. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is where are you focusing your energy? Are you focused at how impactful this recession will be, or are you focused on the opportunity? And I think entrepreneurs, they really do see opportunity in even the most devastating circumstances. So I think they really do inspire. Even I'm inspired by how the resiliency and just their drive to just keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a client yesterday who lost one of his biggest accounts. He's been in business for 2.5 years, lost one of his biggest accounts. And then he ended up calling some other people he was working with, but hadn't come to any conclusion yet. He had a number of people like that. And he got on the phone, and within a day and a half, he filled the pipeline back up again. And I find that interesting and fascinating when the entrepreneurs, they're in a difficult position, they just dig in. They just dig in, they lean in, and they figure it out.
Yeah, I totally, I'm big into manifestation, and like you attract what you focus on. And I think that mindset is what has given them success and what will continue even through the external economic forces that are, trying to bring them down. Like, I mean, if they're strong foundational, then, and they know themselves and they're good leaders, I think that will go a long way.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for entrepreneurs and business owners with regard to, are there any books, any resources that you think are critical or people would get some benefit with or from? Can you share any of that with us?
That's a good question. I read a lot of personal development books. Personal development is a huge value of mine, so I gravitate to all mindset type books. I would say one of the first books that I read that I, since becoming an entrepreneur and starting my business, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Very, very renowned book, but so impactful. I mean, I always go back to, the one habit, the think with the end in mind. Like, I think I even bring that to my clients. I mean, we live with intention and purpose, and I think that is really a really good focus as you're embarking on your entrepreneurial journey. But I think for me, I like books for my clients that are revolved around money and mindset, like money mindset. I think that having a really good relationship with money is really important as a business owner, because money is like highly emotionally charged. Like it's so if you understand your relationship with money, I think it can go a far way. One book I am reading, it's called Happy Money. It's I don't know the author. I can send it later, but it's a good book. I'm not finished reading it, but I mean, I think for me, that's where I'm focused on, is really just my relationship with money. And I think knowing thyself is really important as a business owner. And that's why I gravitate to personal development books. And I know that the more I know myself, the better leader I can be. And I think that alone is good for entrepreneurs to make the connection with.
Well, Ashleigh, I want to say congratulations for what you've achieved so far in your career. You obviously love what you do, and you're making a difference for your clients.
Thank you.
And you should feel very proud of what you've accomplished. And I do want to say a big thanks for being a guest on the Mayor of Money podcast.
Rick.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for the conversation and just being able to share what it is I do and what I'm, building towards. And I really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much again. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you next time on the Mayor of Money. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the Mayor of Money podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. If you'd like to have a one-on-one discussion with Rick or have an idea for a particular guest or topic, contact him at rick@rickgoldring.com. See you next time on the Mayor of Money podcast.